Okay, so have you ever felt like you're just drowning in work? Like going through the motions, checking things off the list, but that feeling of not doing enough just never goes away.
It's like we're all stuck on this hamster wheel of busy, right?
Exactly. And you are so not alone. I was actually reading that Zippia, the job website.
Yeah.
They found that 83% of people experience work-related stress.
83%.
83%. That's like almost everyone we know.
Pretty much.
But what if I told you there's a way to actually, change how we think about stress? That maybe, just maybe, stress isn't always the bad guy.
It's a total paradigm shift, isn't it? We're so used to thinking of stress as like this universally negative thing.
Right. So today we're diving into some books that challenge that whole idea. We'll unpack how stress and our habits are connected, how our social circles play a surprisingly big role, and even hear a founder's story about navigating a demanding career while dealing with mental health.
It's like a toolkit for not just surviving, but thriving in all that chaos of our work lives.
I like that, thriving in the chaos. So to kick things off, we have to talk about Kelly McGonigal's book, The Upside of Stress.
Such a good one.
Okay, The Upside of Stress, that title alone is intriguing. What's the deal with finding an upside to stress?
Well, McGonigal's research suggests that it's not actually the stress itself that's always bad for us. It's more about our beliefs about stress. The story we tell ourselves about it, that's what really impacts us.
So it's like if my boss dumps a massive project on my desk, it's not the project itself giving me an ulcer, it's my inner voice screaming, I can't handle this. That's the real issue.
Exactly. Think about it. When you view a stressful situation as a threat, like your body actually goes into that primal fight or flight mode, right?
Well, yeah.
Your heart's racing, you might start sweating, you get a little panicky even. But here's the interesting part. If you can view that same exact situation as a challenge instead, your body still has a response, but it releases different hormones. These ones actually sharpen your focus, boost your energy, and even make you more resilient in the long run.
Okay, so instead of that project being a giant wave that's going to crush me, I need to reframe it as, I don't know, a surfboard. And I'm about to ride this wave of stress to success.
You got it. And the best part is that McGonigal actually backs this up with some pretty solid research.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, there's one study she talks about where they told people to view stress as beneficial. And those people, believe it or not, actually had better cardiovascular responses during stressful tasks.
No way.
Yes. Their blood vessels stayed more relaxed, which is a good sign of a healthy heart under pressure.
Wow. Okay, so our brains are way more powerful than we realize. But let's be real for a second.
Yeah.
It's easy to say reframe stress when we're talking about like a work project or something.
Right.
But I feel like there are some stressors, especially for women, that feel way bigger than just, changing our mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
It's that constant juggling act, the pressure to do it all perfectly, both at work and at home,
Yep.
that can feel like a one-way ticket to Burnout City.
For sure. And that is exactly what Emily and Amelia Nagoski dig into in their book, Burnout.
Okay, the Nagoski sisters, Burnout. What's their take on this, especially for women?
Well, one of their main points, and I think a lot of us can relate to this, is that there's this impossible gap between what society expects from women and, the actual reality of our lives.
Ugh, yes. It's like we're supposed to be crushing it in our careers, being perfect mothers, partners, friends.
And somehow we're supposed to look effortlessly amazing while doing all of it.
Right. It's like, how is that even possible?
It's this impossible standard.
It's like society hands you this mile-long to-do list and then acts all surprised when you haven't, achieved world peace by lunchtime.
Exactly. And what I find really interesting is they actually go into some specific examples of this.
Oh, do they? Like what?
They have this whole section on the bikini industrial complex, which I'd never really thought about before.
The bikini industrial complex. Okay, now I need to hear more. What is that?
So basically, they're saying that all this pressure on women to have this certain body image, which is often totally unrealistic and unhealthy.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's a huge source of stress and anxiety for women.
It's everywhere you look.
It really is. It's those magazines, it's social
The
media.
airbrushed ads, it's exhausting.
And it's not even just about the pressure to look a certain way. It's all the time and energy.
Yes.
The mental space it takes up. It's like all that worrying about our bodies could be used for things we actually enjoy,
Totally. So it sounds like they're really validating that feeling a lot of women have of just being completely overloaded.
Yeah.
But did they offer any solutions? Because it's one thing to identify the problem, but how do we actually start to, I don't know, fix it?
They absolutely offer solutions.
Okay, good.
And it's not just about bubble baths and face masks, although those are important too, don't get me wrong.
Of course, self-care is key.
Yes. But they really emphasize setting boundaries, putting self-care first, and this is crucial, challenging those unrealistic expectations that society throws at us.
It's about taking back our time, our energy, our sanity, basically.
Exactly.
I like the sound of that.
Right.
But speaking of reclaiming control, I think we should talk about Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this one might give us some actual tools for making those changes.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like setting boundaries, really prioritizing ourselves, pushing back against those expectations. It's like a total mind shift, which sounds amazing.
It does, but then like reality sets in, right?
Right.
Back to the mountain of emails and deadlines.
Exactly. So how do we actually bridge that gap between knowing what we should do and then like actually changing those deep down habits, especially when we're stressed and reaching for the familiar, even if it's not the healthiest thing?
That's where Duhigg and the power of habit comes in. He gives us this framework, it's super useful, called the habit loop.
Okay, the habit loop, walk me through this. How can it help us make actual lasting changes, even with all the work chaos?
Well, it's surprisingly simple. So first, you've got the cue. Basically, that's the trigger for your habit. Could be anything, really. A certain time of day, a feeling, like when you're overwhelmed, even just seeing your phone light up.
Oh, I feel that.
Right. So that cue, it then triggers the routine, which is the habit itself.
So say my cue is that overwhelmed feeling when I open my inbox first thing in the morning. My routine is immediately making a beeline for the coffee pot and then, oh man, getting sucked into social media for like 20 minutes before I even think about work.
Exactly. You got it. And then comes the reward. In that case, it's that temporary relief from thinking about your inbox, that little dopamine hit you get from scrolling.
Which we all know is so fleeting. And then I'm just more stressed because I wasted time. Okay, so the reward keeps us coming back, even if it's not good for us. But how does knowing this loop actually help us break those habits, those bad ones?
Because once you see the pieces, you can change them up. Duhigg gives this great example, how Pepsodent, the toothpaste company, got people in the habit of brushing their teeth regularly.
Which, when you think about it, that wasn't always a thing, right? Brushing your teeth isn't exactly like the most thrilling activity. How'd they do it?
By totally understanding that reward, they actually put a tingling sensation in their toothpaste, created this craving, this good feeling people started to look forward to.
So they like hacked the habit loop by adding in a bit of pleasure. Okay, I love that. But what about habits that affect not just us, but like the people around us? I'm thinking how stress is almost contagious. It ripples out to our coworkers, our families even.
Totally. That's where Connected by Christakis and Fowler like blew my mind. They get into this whole social contagion thing.
Social contagion. Okay, I'm listening.
It's this idea that our emotions, what we do, even our health, is swayed by the people we're around more than we realize. Like, they found that having a happy neighbor can actually impact your well-being more than a happy spouse.
Wild, right? Wait, seriously? A neighbor? Okay, that's kind of crazy. So even if I'm trying to be cool and collected at work, if everyone else is stressed, I'm more likely to catch those vibes too.
Exactly. But think about it. That means our positive stuff is contagious too. If we manage our stress, get that resilient mindset, it ripples out, impacts everyone.
So it's like we've got a responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to our people, to manage this well. And we can do that with a habit loop, reframing our thoughts, building those good connections. It's all linked together. Which, speaking of handling stress in tough jobs, our last book, Burn Rate by Andy Dunn, really gets into this.
Totally. He's the founder of Bonobos, the clothing company, right?
Yeah.
He shares his experience of building their whole thing while dealing with bipolar disorder. Super vulnerable.
Right. That openness about his mental health is so powerful. I remember reading how Safira, who's the CEO over at Zira, she said reading Burn Rate actually made her take her own mental health more seriously.
Wow, that's huge.
If a book can do that,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
It really is. It tells us it's okay to not be okay, and that asking for help, putting our mental well-being first, that's not weak, it's strong. And I think we all need to hear that.
100%. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's your biggest takeaway? What's that one thing you're walking away with?
Honestly, it's the power of connection, not just with people, but how our thoughts, our habits, our well-being, they're all linked. It's like we've been handed this incredible toolkit from changing how we view stress to actually hacking our habits, and it's up to us to use it.
I love that. And I think our listeners have a lot to think about today. Here's a final thought, and maybe a little challenge.
Hmm.
If there was just one small change you could make today, even a tiny tweak to your routine to help you deal with stress and build those positive vibes, what would it be? Think about that habit loop, that ripple effect, because even the smallest actions can make a huge difference.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Deep Thoughts Podcast. I hope you found insights and inspiration to take with you on your journey of self-growth. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on new releases and exclusive content. See you next time, where we'll continue to help you grow and explore your full potential.